Hi there everyone, and welcome to Fingers, Fums and Fits. In this episode of TTPITL I will be painting Karnus the Seeker, the exclusive Lord Celestant mini from issue 5 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Spearhead magazine. And you'll be pleased to know that I'll be using a more traditional scheme for this guy. Can I keep the paint inside the lines? Let's find out. My base layer for this mini actually consists of 2 paints. I first undercoated the model with Chaos Black spray, and then applied a base coat of Retributor Armor spray. I did this over the black just to mute the overall color a little. The gold armor was then washed over with Gullyman flesh. Dry brushed with standard Retributor Armor paint. And then dry brushed with Stormhost silver to give it a shine. His tabard and cloak were then painted with Canner blue. I love this color. I think it has a great shade to it. Very regal. I then ran Drakenhof Nightshade into the darkest recesses of the tabard. And if you're wondering why it looks a little shiny, it's because I tried to wash with a different color, but it didn't really do anything. And went back to the Canner blue to relayer over the tabard. And then added a couple of highlights, starting with Altdorf Guard blue, and then a smaller highlight of Hoth blue. Now, moving away from the blues, I painted some of the silver detail with lead belcher. This included his weapon's hammerhead, his sword blade, the scale mail on his waist, and the hammerheads on his cloak. Also, as a personal preference, and to vary the armor up a little, I also applied this color to his left shoulder pad and right knee pad. Then, to add some depth, I washed the silver with Space Wolves Grey. This was also to add some coolness, in contrast to the warmth of the gold. Now, for some highlights, and for that I returned to Stormhost silver. For the sword and cloak hammers, I applied an edge highlight. For the scale mail, shoulder pad and knee pad, I dry brushed the highlight. And for his weapon's hammerhead, I used a combination of both methods. But wait, there's yet more metallics to paint, and this time I turned to Screaming Bell. Just don't tell Sigmar. Anyway, this paint was laid over the top and bottom of his hammer grip, the hilt and pommel of his sword, the scabbard and pommel of his dagger, and the medallion on his chest. Before I applied a wash to these areas though, I painted his weapon grips with Baneblade brown. And then applied a wash of Gullyman flesh to both the Screaming Bell and Baneblade brown areas. It was at this point I remembered I wanted to paint the bolts on his hammer this way too, so they got the same treatment. Those darker metallics were then given a subtle highlight of Balthasar gold. This model has a few straps visible, most notably on his forearms and right leg, so these were painted first with Mournfang brown, then washed with Seraphim sepia. And he also has a few jewels dotted about his person. Normally, I might not bother with these, but as he's a character, I thought why not. So, I first applied a dot of Corax white, and then washed them with Frostheart. And finally, I decided to paint a couple of details white, on the flat of his weapon's hammerhead, as well as on his left vambrace. And to do this, I first put down a layer of grey cere, washed with Nuln oil, and added a slight highlight of Corax white. So all that was left was to base the model. I have to say, I still don't think I'm truly enamored to the Stormcast Eternals, but at least this model didn't bore me to tears like the Liberators did. So that's something I guess. So, what do we think? Did I manage to keep the paint inside the lines? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again for the next one. Have a great day everyone, and I'll see you later.